I
Hi.
can't see it. Oh, now I can
Hi,
see
it's Paula. This is the Common Book Show, and I'm here today with Richard and Wayne and Sasha and Jason. I feel like in Sanford and Virginia and James, and of course my son Tom on drums. And the last 3 weeks we had something called the No Exit Show that was hosted by Jason. So I thought, and I watched them, and I found them frenetic. But anyway, I want to read one thing before we go on with that conversation. Now, I finished Herodotus Histories. I finished it. It was grueling, and there were times when I wanted to give up, but I didn't. So while reading this, I found this one. There were a lot of interesting facts, cannibalism and so forth. I was having a good time with those parts. But I found this one thing that fascinated me. There's a city-state in Greece. It's Salamis, okay? And in Salamis, they had these runners, these messengers, just like the marathon runner. And so I'm going to read this part, and you'll see why it was so difficult to read. But I want you to listen to it and see if it reminds you of anything. Okay. While Xerxes was doing thus, he sent a messenger to the Persians to announce the calamity which had come upon them. Now, there is nothing mortal which accomplishes a journey with more speed than these messengers, so skillfully has this been devised by the Persians. For they say that according to the number of the days of which the entire journey consists, so many horses and men are set at intervals, each man and horse appointed for the day's journey. These neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor darkness of night prevents them from accomplishing each one the task proposed to him with the very utmost speed. The first then rides and delivers the message, and which he is charged to the second, and the second to the third. After that, it goes through them, handed from one to the other, as in the torch race among the Hellenes, which they perform for Hephaestus. Okay, so the Postal Service has
appropriated that.
Right.
Persian roots.
And the thing is, I had to watch some videos about these wars because I really couldn't understand the language in these things very well. So I had to watch, and the guy did point that out. That was one of the things that the professor pointed out, was this passage. And he attributed it, that's why I said to Salamis, although it sounds here like they're talking about the Persians sending the messenger. So I'm not exactly sure between what that professor said and what I got out of this. So anyway, that was my beautiful piece of information from this giant book that I'm done with.
Well, I think Salamis has something to do with Thessalonica. And the Hellenes were the Greeks, because the actual name of Greece is the Hellenic Republic.
Right. But all the city-states that were... Yeah.
Right.
Salamis is the last, or one of the last, battles of the Persian Wars, in which the Persians were defeated by the Greeks. So that's why they say...
Oh, okay. All right.
Does he mention Phidippides?
Not in that section.
The Battle of Marathon?
I'm sure he does, because it's a name I couldn't pronounce. So I'm sure he mentioned that name, because he mentioned every name I could never pronounce.
The Mitigesserai?
Yes, you with that one. Now there's something I want to say, which I want to say this. It is from a good place, not a bad place. I'm giving the show to you. It's going to be no exit from now on.
What? You're
I'm giving you the show.
But
no, it's, you know what? I've been doing this show for, I don't know, 5 years. I don't really know how long I've been doing it. And it's evolved. And you know what? It's not what I envisioned, and it's not what I imagined, but it's evolved. It's evolved like this whole time. And when I watched the show, those 3 times that you did it, all I could see was, this is what it's evolved into. and it's your show now.
Well,
So now you have no exit.
but it's like in Watchmen, or it's like in that movie, The One with Jet Li. Yeah, I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with
The
me.
thing is, I want you to do this because I think that what you've done, and Greg was watching it for a while with me, and he says I think he's out Greg Sterlace, the Greg Sterlace show.
Without insulting anybody.
That well, I don't know about that, but not,
I didn't insult anybody.
but-
I didn't.
Well, what I'm saying is, Greg didn't always insult people either. No, you weren't around the whole time.
Yeah, but 25 years ago he did, and then I mean,
So I feel like this is a good place for the common book show to step away, and for the thing it's evolved into to
so do we flip it around? Like when I'm not available, you'll come back and do the comic book show.
well, no, I decided I'm gonna do a whole new thing. I'm gonna do a one-on-one with Richard, with one guest, because my tolerance for a lot of commotion, as you've probably seen by the expression on my face sometimes, and I don't want to be mean, but I get crazy. When Greg used to do his show, I used to go hide in the front room because the chaos level drives me crazy. But so I'm going to do a one-on-one show with Richard with one guest, and we're going to do, it's called Whoever Holds the Stone. And you know what that means? That means one person talks at a time, and that's what I can handle. And here is the stone we are going to use. for this
Would you
show.
only, Paula, would you only have one guest, or would you only have one guest at a time holding the stone?
Every person that's
Right.
okay. Let's say I'm telling a story or something. I got the stone, and I said, does anyone want to comment? And then I hand that person.
In
the
other
stone.
words, there could be 5 people on the show. Yes,
well,
but
we
one
don't-
person at a time gets to tell their piece.
The first thing that we talked about was just having one person at a time to see how it works.
I see.
That's
And then-
how that's how
see.
we're gonna, and then we'll make a decision from
Build
there.
from there, yeah.
Because everything evolves.
Yeah.
And this thing evolved, and I love it. I was watching it, and I was really enjoying it. And I'm like, I can't stop this from happening because this is nature. There's nothing there's nothing without change.
Well, that's true, the evolution, because that quote that was in the text today for the invitation, I thought it was kind of flowery, but yeah, it's what happens. You grow from the ashes, like the bristlecone pine. You know, that
Absolutely.
you need to burn it down to grow it up again.
And that's why I didn't want to try to wrangle it into what my vision was, because my vision has changed now too. So I wanted it to just be what it was, and that's what it is, and you're in charge of that. So,
Hey.
and if you can't do the show, that we could just tell Richard. That's what I have done.
Yeah.
The only time we've done it where we've had a guest host is when you've done it.
Oh,
We've never done a guest host before.
really?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was just dead air, like
It was just Richard didn't.
Awful.
Right.
Well, we would keep the slot empty.
yeah.
no kidding.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate because it is not sufficiently explicated.
Well, I think that what the way it turned out, I think in the way that it was trying to grow.
Well, that's speak that I may know thee. You know, so it is not. If it is not said, it's lost. And so, the more we could say, the better. You know, and everybody gets their.
Yeah.
What I'm proud of is I let everybody speak.
And there I saw. I saw that.
Vanessa gets to speak.
Well, you saw the side eye I gave her when she was. You know,
I know, and that's the thing. Okay, Vanessa is a veteran of the Greg Sterlace show. Plus, in her past life, she had a show of her own. Which, if you think, the Greg Sterlace show was
Wild.
and
Yeah.
raw, but the thing is, that's her style. And the same thing happened with Tony. I love Tony the truck driver. He's so smart, and he's so thoughtful, and he's so sensitive. But one time I had to tell him it was, we don't do the show this way, and he never came back.
Virginia, what do you say?
What about what? I think if Paula wants to give the show to you, then she wants to give the show to you. I think
It's just
that's her
it's
gift.
right. It's evolved.
That's her gift to you, and now it's up to you whether or not you're going to take the torch or not.
Oh, of course. You think my ego would let me not? Come on now. You don't even know me, but you can tell. Look at the
No.
shirt I'm wearing.
No, I knew you wouldn't reject it because
course.
I knew that you were, and it's so funny the way this evolved. And the first time we were contacted and talking to each other on, of all things, LinkedIn. And then I told you, well, I do a podcast. Why don't you come join us? And you said, I hate podcasts. Nobody listens to them. And I said, who cares?
No,
If
what
do
I
it for
said?
me."
What I say? They're like assholes.
Oh, that-
Most of them stink.
Oh, I don't remember the exact verbiage.
Yeah, I was much more graphic or
But the
poetic.
thing, right, but the thing is, I said, I do it for me. I do it because I enjoy it. I do it because it gives me an opportunity to interact with Richard and the people that come to the show every week. And that makes me happy. But, I once in a while, somebody will tell me they watch the show, and I say, you do?
Well, could you do that?
I mean, there's a couple of guys from NYU. There's Neil Flomenbaum and Bob, I can't think of the other one. Or there's Alan Cross from Toronto. They are subject matter experts in what they do, and their podcasts are good because they're not formless. And that's what I aspire to, that with Bob, I can't think of his last name, and Flomenbaum, you could write down, just listen to them, you could write down like what they're talking about, just like talking back and forth. You're like, wow, I can't believe I'm learning this much. And Alan Cross is the ne plus ultra of music history. I mean, that guy, I would talk to him all damn day. He's like Richard. I mean, all damn day I could talk to him about music, and everything I asked, he could answer.
Yeah.
That's the kind of podcast I'd listen to.
Well, then you have the power to develop
Like
this
He-Man.
in any way you would like. And so that's going to be up to you. And I'm so glad that you came the first time, and I'm so glad that you've embraced it so much. And it was going in that direction anyway, wasn't it? We had a lot of overlap and over talking, and I'm glad that somebody who can handle that is able to take it over.
Well,
Can I say something?
absolutely.
Paula and I like to go on nature walks. And more than once, Paula has said, look at this fallen tree. Now, look over here at how a new growth is coming from the rotted thing. She said, that's the beauty of nature, is that flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's incorporating that into her life.
Oh, that's a good. I didn't think of it that way, but you're right. It's like something was kind of dying, and now you found it, and you're bringing it back to life.
It's a circle of life, you know?
The circle of life.
Now, Mr. Walker, what do you think of the concept, whoever holds the stone can speak?
I'm for it.
That's my guy.
Someone might finish a paragraph.
Well, that's like the difference between the U.S. Congress and the British House of Commons.
Order.
All they do there is scream and yell at each other.
Yeah.
And, versus the intransigence that we have here, but at least they're not talking over each other.
Well, so yeah. Now, as we're doing this, I want to say that I'm gonna do my format this week, and then next week you're on. So I want to talk to Sanford because Sanford brought a book that I was interested in that he finished, and it's a big fat honking book like this, but I bet the language is better.
Well, yeah, I want to share some of this. By the way, congratulations, my friend. Really, I mean that.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah, well earned, well deserved.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
And I meant what I told you. I meant what I said to you when I said that you
Same.
have the appropriate degree of knowledge and experience to do something like this. I think that
Me too. I think that's
it's
true.
important.
The lead dog isn't always the strongest dog.
You calling me a dog?
No, it's calling yourself a dog.
I'm kidding.
But you know what I mean? That the one who's leading isn't always the strongest, but you got to
But
marshal the resources.
There's a way. You have to be able to bring everybody in. At least try.
But you know why? It's because I am the party. So that's all. Even if nobody shows up, I'm still going to talk for an hour and have a good time.
I do not doubt that.
But back to the book.
The book,
Yes,
fire
back
away.
to the book.
This, for those who don't know, is a book written by Ian McGilchrist. It's called The Master and His Emissary. I read this book so carefully. My neighbors all think I'm crazy because I sit on the front porch with a highlighter. I highlighted the entire book.
It's like you're in
Wow.
college.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I just really, every page is so pregnant with meaning. You could spend hours talking about any page. And I'm not really qualified to address everything in the book. It's staggeringly brilliant and complex and nuanced. But the title comes from a parable by Friedrich Nietzsche, The Master and His Emissary. And the master has a kingdom, and it runs very efficiently, and he has all of these emissaries that send messages and do his bidding. But one of the emissaries decides to overthrow the master, and the kingdom goes out of control. And this metaphor is used for the brain. He's a neuroscientist. And his idea, and I'm totally convinced by the evidence that he gives, that the right brain, the intuitive part of ourselves that is connected to your body and has the immediate phenomenological experience of life, the experience of what is, that is the master. That information is then taken by a bundle of nerves called the corpus callosum over to the left brain, which analyzes it and fragments it and dissociates it from the context. And then, if you're healthy, sends it back to the right brain to be expressed in lived experience. His thesis is that at different periods of history, and by the way the brain works, the right brain is vulnerable to the left brain because the left brain is grasping and narcissistic, and it doesn't want to listen. And there are periods in history where one brain dominates. Romantic period, more right-brained. Early Greek culture, the right and left worked together. It was very harmonious. The Renaissance, the right and left worked in a symbiotic relationship. The Enlightenment, the Reformation, modernism, and particularly today with postmodernism, the left brain has kind of taken over. And I would say that this gathering is beautiful because it seems like a symbiotic relationship of both the right and the left. You talked about how life is an evolution and a process, but we're also discussing things analytically. So can I just read some of this?
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's so important. And forgive me, there's a lot here, and I don't want to read at you and bore the shit out of you, but you're not going to be bored, I don't think. This last section of the book, he talks about, it's called, the final chapter is called The Master Betrayed. And in other words, the right brain has been betrayed by the left brain. And he says, what would the world look like if the left brain had its way? And he gives a description, okay? Let us try to imagine what the world would look like if the left hemisphere became so far dominant that at the phenomenological level it managed more or less to suppress the right hemisphere's world altogether. What would that be like? There's a lot here, forgive me. First, there would be a loss of a broader picture and a substitution of a more narrowly focused, restricted, but detailed view of the world, making it perhaps difficult to maintain a coherent overview. The broader picture in any case would be disregarded because it would lack the appearance of clarity and certainty which the left hemisphere craves. I'm going to have to skip over a lot of this, the best stuff. That there would be a technicalizing of knowledge, which in turn would promote the substitution of information and information gathering for knowledge, which comes through experience. Knowledge in its turn would seem more real than what one might call wisdom, which would seem too nebulous, something never to be grasped, which the right hemisphere understands. It would be dismissive of anything outside of its limited focus, because the right hemisphere's take on the whole picture would simply not be available to it. Knowledge that came through experience, embodied skill, would become suspect and seen as a threat or as incomprehensible. It would be replaced by tokens or representations. Concepts of skill and judgment, once considered the summit of human achievement, would be discarded in favor of quantifiable and repeatable processes. Expertise, which is what actually makes an expert, one who is experienced, would be replaced by expert knowledge that would have in fact to be based on theory and not experience. Again, there's so much. The best. I have to skip over a lot of this stuff, but
Sanford,
it's so fucking
can I
brilliant.
ask you a question?
Yes, please.
Do you think that the right. No, now you're saying the left side.
The
is,
left side is the rational. The
Oh.
the right side is the intuitive.
The right side is okay. So, would you say that the knowledge is taken into the left side? That the knowledge that's learned on the other side of the brain is taken into the left side and synthesized?
Yes, excellent. And then
Okay.
given back
All right,
to the
and
right
then-
side to
right,
be.
So what it's synthesized, and instead of just being facts, you can say, wait a minute, this fits together somehow. There's something that's happening here. I took this from here, I took this from here, and now I have this new thing that's this.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I want to make it really clear, and he goes to great lengths to make this clear. He is not saying that the right brain is better than the left brain, or one is
Yeah.
better than the other. They need each other. There,
Right.
civilization, for example, wouldn't be possible without what our rationalization can do. But anyway, I hate to skip any of this stuff. I'm trying to find there's so much great stuff. Either or would tend to be substituted for matters of nuance and degree, and a certain inflexibility would result. We would have a society dominated by technology, mechanisticity, a submergence of the individual, quantification, not qualification. In maintaining one's integrity as a unique individual, subject in a world where a combination of the hubris arrogance of science and the drive of technology blots out the awe-inspiring business of conscious human existence, or the mystery of being, this would be lost if the left brain had its way. Human beings would become object, no longer subject. Some of the best stuff is yet to come. It is actually fucking amazing. I just feel bad for you because reading at somebody is such an appalling thing to do, so I apologize. Philosophically, the world would be marked by fragmentation, collections of bits and pieces randomly thrown together to maximize utility, because the left brain is utilitarian and grasping and what I can get for me. The mechanical model would be seen as everything. In such a society, it would be hard to understand the values in Max Scheler's hierarchy. I don't know if you know who Max Scheler was. He was a phenomenological philosopher who believed that the highest values were spiritual and divine. That would be lost in a culture based on the left brain. Everything would be calculated.
You're fired.
The left hemisphere prefers the impersonal to the personal. Depersonalization of relationships between members of society, exploitation rather than cooperation would become the default relationships between human individuals. Resentment would lead to an emphasis on uniformity and equality, not just as one desirable to be balanced as others, but as the ultimate desirable, transcending all others. Individualities would be ironed out, and identification, sound familiar, would be by categories, socioeconomic groups, races, sexes,
Yeah.
and so on, which would also feel themselves to be implicitly or explicitly in competition with one another and resentful of one another. Paranoia and a lack of trust would come to pervade the society. Such a government in a society like this would seek total control. Sound familiar? A feature
Yes.
of the left hemisphere's take. Closed circuit television monitoring, interception of private information and communication would become the norm. Sound familiar? Individuals depend on uniqueness, but according to the left hemisphere's take on reality, individuals are simply interchangeable parts in a mechanistic system. The state would not only take on greater power, but it would downplay individual responsibility, and a sense of individual responsibility would accordingly decline. Family relationships, skilled roles in with society, such as priests, teachers, doctors, which transcend what can be quantified and regulated, and in fact depend on a degree of altruism, would become the object of suspicion. The left hemisphere misunderstands the nature of such relationships, as it misunderstands altruism as a version of self-interest and sees them as a threat to its power. families and professions would come under bureaucratic control. I'm a teacher, I can tell you. In such a society, people of all kinds would attach importance to being in control. Accidents and illnesses, which are beyond our control and therefore particularly threatening to the left hemisphere, would be blamed on others, since they would look like a threat to one's capacity to control one's life. The left hemisphere, remember, is in any case not quick to take responsibility. It sees itself as the passive victim of whatever it is not conscious of. In the Renaissance and in the 19th century, when the right hemisphere was in the ascendant, death was omnipresent in life and literature, and it was openly spoken of, part of the fabric of life itself, in recognition of which alone life could have meaning. According to the left hemisphere view, death is the ultimate challenge to its sense of control, and contrarily robs life of meaning. It becomes a taboo. While at the same time, sex, the power of which the right hemisphere realizes is based on the implicit, would become explicit and pornographic and omnipresent. There would be a sound familiar?
Yeah.
There would be a preoccupation, which might even
Freudian
reach to
slip,
an
yeah.
obsession with sex, with certainty and security, since the left hemisphere is highly intolerant of uncertainty and death. Which would become unspeakable. Reasonableness would be replaced by rational thinking, rationality. Perhaps the very concept of reasonableness might become unintelligible. There would be a complete failure of common sense, since it is intuitive, relies on both hemispheres working together. Anger and aggressive behavior would become more evident in our social interactions, and those are most highly characteristic of the left, which would no longer be counterbalanced by the empathic skills of the right hemisphere. There would be a loss of insight in culture. There would be an increasing passivization and suggestibility, almost a hypnotic suggestibility
Yeah.
on a phone, right? A lack of willpower. I don't want to torture you much longer, but there's so much great stuff here. But you get the
Well,
idea?
I get the idea, and I
Yeah.
think there's somebody that needs to be tested to see if they have a right brain.
For one, I just had a strong feeling. I just wanted to say, inconceivable, about 3 times while listening to that. But also,
The best stuff I had to leave out because
well,
I just
the
there's too
problem with
much.
that though is, if we evolved that were like
Thanks for
left brain
listening.
only, we would never know. That's
that
what's
again?
if we evolved left brain only, we would never know.
Yeah, that's
Our
true.
society would be formed all on
Yeah,
that. This
that's
is like
true.
this is like the Life After People series.
Yeah,
You know
that's
that
true.
if you artificially changed that and took that one part out, like you dissected the corpus callosum and removed the right side of the brain. Well, there you're going to force it.
Well, he's only saying we're kind of moving in that direction, and that we've moved back and forth historically. You don't. There's no. You can't get rid of the right brain, and in fact, there's a whole section where he talks about there is hope, because reality doesn't work like that. Reality is in flux and in flow.
Is this a modern book? Is this something that just came out?
2012, and he just a few years ago wrote this massive magnum opus called The Matter with Things, which is a sequel to this, which I just bought.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, because that was prior to the whole Trump presidency.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking of the one, it was at the beginning of one of the Star Trek movies when Spock is being tested, and there's the one theory that everything that is. If it is not, it is not.
Okay, I have something to say.
Okay.
It illustrates left brain and right brain.
Okay.
I took a course in music theory, and the professor said, "You know, I had the privilege of meeting Sonny Rollins in person, and he had been telling us all about his famous composition called Blues 7." And he said, "I went up to Sonny Rollins after the gig, and I said, you know, great to meet you. You know, I do teach your composition, Blues 7. Do you realize, Sonny, that you do things in that using the 7th note that have never been done in music before?" And you know what Sonny Rollins replied?
She said no.
He said, "Man, it's people in your line of work to come up with that. In my line of work, we do the inventing."
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
It's almost like Sonny said, "Great, do
I'm
your
right brain and you're left
yeah,
brain."
do your thing, and I'll do my thing."
Right.
Yeah, because I'm sure it never even occurred to him that there was something like that. It was just the sound he was hearing and the way he was feeling that came out on paper. And he's not going to sit and analyze it. He's just doing it.
Yeah. Well, it's like squaring the circle. You know that the music, analog sounds better, but digital, when you get down small enough, digital sounds like analog. You know, and that's what it is. He's just doing the art.
Yeah,
He's doing the art, and then the other
absolutely.
people are analyzing it. But
But going back to what you said earlier, the analyzing of the books ruined them for you. So
Yeah,
what you were
good
doing
point.
is you were reading in that right brain space, and somebody tried to pull it into your left brain,
brain.
and you didn't like it.
But
well,
Go ahead.
you know what irked me? Phantom of the Opera. I read the original one, but it was translated, by
Gaston Leroux.
Gaston Leroux from 1911. And the foreword ruined the whole book. That's bullshit.
What, they gave it the whole
They gave
thing
the whole
away?
thing
I
away in
never
the
read
foreword.
The forward. Never. I
She
never
tears off
read-
the
I
mask.
learned that the hard way.
I read it at the end if I read it at all.
Right. Well, that's why I also curse Jeopardy for ruining Anna Karenina for me. I'm never going to read it, but they still ruined the ending.
You didn't
It's a
know?
great.
I never read the book.
It's a great book. It's worth reading all the way through. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
it's just beautiful.
Yeah, even if you know how it turns
I
out, it's a
highly
journey.
suggest. Of course, I have to take notes with Russian names. Like
Oh, yeah,
when I'm
yeah.
reading Russian names, because there's too many names, like patronyms.
And they
there's-
all have 4 names per person.
Right, because it's a,
It's
it's
crazy,
a
yeah.
patronym. It's their first name. It's their
Their nickname.
nickname exactly, and then there's like any combination of those 3 will be used, and,
Yeah.
and it's just it's
Yeah, so
just
if you're a
mind-blowing.
Russian, you know that Misha is a affectionate term for Dmitri.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But the rest of the world does not know
Does not
that.
know
Right.
that.
Wait,
Right.
who was that?
Well, because that's
Is
what
there a
I
new
said.
character?
Exactly.
I'm terrible.
Are you familiar with code switching? Code
Yeah.
switching
Yes,
is using
everybody's
another language that, and if people around you, if everybody's in the culture, like if you're a Boricua, if you're a Puerto Rican in New York City, putting the Spanish and the English together, that's what you do. But the point of code switching, when people don't know, keeps other people out so they can't understand what you're saying. When, si je dis quelque chose en français et les choses ne parlent pas le français, if I say something in French and nobody speaks it, I am keeping people out that don't speak it. And that's what the subculture does. That knowing about
It's just
Misha,
but isn't it just a level of comfortability? I mean, comfortability, is that even a word? Isn't it a layer? Like when I'm with my family who's not educated, sometimes I go back to double negatives.
Yeah.
well,
you know?
No, and I don't think it's necessarily excluding people. I don't think it's meant to do that. I think it's just,
Yeah.
this is how people talk, and maybe you're the intruder on the conversation
Right.
in which there's
but
code
that's the
switching.
thing, that if we're the only ones who speak Italian and I say something in Italian to you and nobody else knows, inside jokes are bullshit.
Yeah.
Because so I got a story about that.
Okay.
Very quick. Back in 1996, I went on a cruise, and there were these 2 German women, these sisters, and oh goodness, I stand by. These sisters, and they were talking all the time to each other. And I said, "Did you ever get busted with that talking in German?" They said, "Yeah." They were back in Germany, West Germany, and there was this black woman who is talking to another guy, and they were saying openly in German, "I wonder if she has extensions." And the woman turns around and says in German, "Yes, they are extensions. You're going to screw this up for me." So she's a black woman that says this. Didn't expect that.
No, yeah, exactly. I just got a note from Richard that you have a story about women having too much power.
Uh-oh.
I'm sure you have many.
Yeah,
but-
we got
but do
26
you have-
minutes. Hit it.
Do you have one? Do you have one that's specifically in your mind right now that's it's pissing you off?
Or pissed on.
Well, the one that I had sent to Richard is about the Coldplay concert scandal.
Oh,
The interesting thing about this is that Knee Jerk, the CEO, has to resign his job. His wife hasn't said yet if she's going to divorce him, but there's this tsunami.
he had to resign from his job. Why? Was it an employee?
He was a CEO. The person
But
he was
did he
caught,
have to or did he choose to? There's a difference.
trust me. It
Famous
was-
last
All right,
words.
no, let's let James finish. Okay, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I needed to know if that was an employee of his.
he was with the HR manager of the company.
Oh, so that was an
Well,
infraction.
but they're more like on parallel. It's not like it's a power.
I don't know about that.
CEO versus HR head. I don't. You know.
Yeah, the
They're-
CEO definitely has the power in that one.
Their offices are on the same floor. It's not like HR is 2 floors down.
Well, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You don't know that.
So anyway, there's a tsunami of
I do.
castigating of the guy, and no one said anything about the fact that the woman that he was with at that concert was also married and had 2 children, and everybody's like, well, you don't know what she's going through.
No,
and
she should have been fired too.
exactly my point.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's not equal power, but it is equal responsibility in this case because she knew what would happen.
as HR, she certainly knows
She
the
knows.
repercussions.
Yeah, she knows the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
It is
they're
okay when
both
you put it that way.
responsible. I do not think that it was fair that he was forced to resign and she wasn't. I don't think that was fair.
Fair is the weather. I use the word equitable.
Equitable. Okay.
Equitable, it works better, because equity,
All right. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Then I don't think it was equitable.
because,
I think she's a grown woman.
right.
She's not a victim.
Yeah, you can't have it both ways.
She's not a victim.
Yeah,
You
either
know-
you're both at fault or neither
Yeah,
of you are.
Yes. So I agree with you again.
And again, while people are coming out to say that they support the CEO's wife, you have to dig to find out that she was married and who her husband is, and the fact that they have 2 children. So
Those Ninos,
he's not getting
Yeah.
the same kind of
Yeah.
empathy as she is.
I generally believe that there should be equity in situations like this.
what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Right. My mother would have said it like that. I'm sure she would have found a dirtier way to say it though.
I'm thinking, I'm trying, I'm working on it.
Well, I would just like to make one point.
Okay.
In all these types of indiscretions, there are spouses. There are women spouses. There are male spouses. And they tend to they are affected by the fallout.
Absolutely.
For example, we had a local politician who I love dearly, who's had indiscretions his whole life, I think, and he's very upfront about it because he keeps getting caught or kept getting caught.
That's a good reason.
But a friend of mine who has venom towards this man called me up on the phone screaming, what do you think now? What do you think now? They paid this woman $30,000. And I said, maybe, just maybe, his wife said, make her go away. And if
Yeah.
it's going to cost us $30,000, here's the $30,000. Make her go away.
It's possible, but in the
Of
situation,
course it's
yeah.
possible. Of course it's possible. So my point being is that there's people that aren't heard of in the media, just like this CEO and just like this head of HR. Their spouses aren't being heard from. We don't know if he resigned because his wife said, that's it, I've had enough. You quit that job, it's gone to your head. We don't know that. We also are jumping to conclusions that aren't necessarily true about the spouses or about what happened here. And I just want to throw that out there. That's all.
Well, there are open marriages. I mean, I know people who have had open marriages.
I do too. I do.
And
too, Paula.
they are very. I have the wrong glasses on. They're very. They just accept. I mean, of course, they don't sit down at breakfast and talk about it, but there's just a sense that they know. And some people, and a lot of women won't leave a marriage because it changes their life. They know their husband is cheating, and they don't want to change their life, or vice versa.
Well, on the flip side, I remember a guy saying, because believe it or not, a lot of marriages break up in medicine because the medicine is a jealous mistress. So, the old joke is the neurosurgeon tells his wife he's out with his girlfriend, tells his girlfriend he's out with his wife, and he says, finally, I can get some work done. But the one guy said, you can arrange for this, the visitation for the kids, the funds, all this. But he said, sometimes you just got to go. Cut it off sharp, and whatever happens, you get a financial wash, you get your ass lost, sometimes you just got to go.
Yeah. I mean,
So
yeah.
that's the same, what Virginia was saying, mine is the opposite side, but the same idea, what she's saying, the 30 grand, just go away. Sometimes you just got to cut with a sharp knife.
Yeah, but I mean, the problem, right? The problem is we do make assumptions based on our own experience.
Well, totally. I mean, you rate somebody else's speech by your own. And you say, oh, I speak better than they do. Or, wow, this person is erudite. That you say, I could learn something from that one, or they could learn something from me.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah,
what,
I guess, yeah, we do tend to do that, even if it's subconsciously.
right.
But in this case, James, do you feel that the coverage, the way it's being shown on public media, on Facebook and so forth, is unfair? And if you step in to say something on the reverse, you're going to get attacked.
Oh, that's exactly what happens, because when it's the woman who's cheating, everybody wants to give excuses for her. When it's the guy that's cheating, he's horrible and evil. And furthermore, this woman will be able to sue the company for her relationship with the CEO and get a payout for it, even though if things were equitable.
That does not seem like it should be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it
But
was
it
a
is.
consensual relationship, and then I think it's actually the opposite of that women are demonized more than men.
Well, I know there's more words to call women who sleep around.
Well, that's a
Yeah.
very crude.
That's a good point.
What's the difference between a bitch and a whore?
Oh, come on.
A whore screws everyone, and a bitch screws everyone but you.
Oh,
Just-
oh,
yeah.
That was in such poor taste.
Yeah,
I said it was
really.
crude. It was from. I went to military school. It was all male.
It's beyond crude.
Yeah.
No, I could
Yeah.
give you beyond crude. I could.
No,
I could
no,
give
we
you
don't
beyond crude.
Need it. But okay, so as a woman, I know was a double standard for me growing up. My friend Al, whose character you were based on, he was, if you use that kind of language to describe men, he would have been a slut. But he had a lot of sexual experience. I would tell girls all the time, he's a player. He's not going to really. He doesn't like you as much as he likes having sex. And and he was just. But the girls that he would have sex with, they were labeled, because all of a sudden, oh, you had sex with Al, you'll have sex with me. You are a slut, and then that they carry that through until they make a realization that it's meaningless. That kind of talk is meaningless.
Well, think about Macbeth, because Lady Macbeth was vagina dentatus. You know that Macbeth was totally pussy whipped. But 100 years later, you get Hester Prynne. So the pendulum swings the other way, and the Scarlet Letter.
Yeah.
So that's as it goes back and forth.
Yeah. I feel that I've had the experience. Okay, the personal experience. There was a boy that liked me. He was older than me, and he liked me, and I wasn't used to being liked because I had recently lost some weight, and all of a sudden some boy found me attractive, right? When I think I was 13. And he had broken up with another 13-year-old girl. I mean, this guy was about 18, I would say.
Oh,
I got something
exactly.
worse.
what the?
So the thing is, he broke up with another girl who was 13 to go out with me because he liked me more, and he gave me a ring. And I was flabbergasted because I thought, this means there's a relationship and I don't want that. nothing happened. I kissed him a couple times, and I was kind of grossed out. And not because he was a gross guy, but because I was young and I didn't know what a kiss was supposed to be like. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right. So I had my friend Al again. Once again, I wrote a letter to this Paul guy, and I told him, I said, look, I'm sorry I took this ring. I shouldn't have taken it. I don't really want to go out steady with you. Please take your ring back. So he took the ring back. Now he wants to go back. This Paul wants to go back with the 13-year-old girl from 43 when I went to the Catholic school. So he told her that I had sex with him. And that's why he broke up, because he said she had sex with me, but I had to buy her a ring for her to have sex with me. Do you know what happened to my life after that?
You
Yeah.
suffered.
I mean,
I suffered.
can
You were
imagine.
vilified.
Yeah.
I suffered big time. I was in the house. I didn't leave the house. Every time I did leave the house, there was some boy that would wander up and say, you want to go on a date with me? And I'm like, no, because every time they were asking me out on a date, it's because they heard that I had sex with this other guy.
Well, if you feed the
Right.
cats, all the cats turn out.
Yeah.
Well, and
Stop.
I couldn't. I couldn't have a normal relationship for your memory is short at that age. So after about 6 months, it kind of blew over. But still, I was afraid to go out with any boy who asked me because I was afraid they had heard the story.
You should
Yeah.
watch the movie Easy A.
Easy A?
Easy
Yeah.
A, yeah.
Yeah, I
With
don't
Emma
know that
Stone.
movie.
Sasha.
What? No, I'm just thinking that's like statutory rape territory.
Yeah.
That's just,
I get upset.
I mean,
I get upset when I hear my 9th grade kids tell me that they're dating a senior or an 18-year-old boy. I get really
Yeah.
upset about it. And
Yeah.
because it is virtually.
yeah. What do you
It
teach?
is. I teach history, 9th and 10th grade history, and psychology.
Yeah.
How about 46
Frontier
years
High
ago,
School.
my dad knew a guy who was 28 and had a 14-year-old girlfriend.
That's disgusting.
That was
that's not a
1979.
girlfriend, that's
That
rape.
was 1979.
That's horrible.
That's
yeah.
rape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just say that for the people who say that this HR rep won't be able to get a payout from the company, you're having a short memory, because was it just 2 years ago that had a scandal for having sex with 7 officers in her same unit while married, and she got a payout.
She had
that.
sex with 7 of the other officers, and she got a payout?
Yes.
In which city?
Why?
I can get you the thing, but she claimed that she was groomed by the other officers, including the captain.
See,
That
this.
sounds more likely.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't.
I
ages.
feel that somebody who has sex with 7 of their. First of all, my mother. Speaking of my mother and her colorful sayings, you don't shit where you eat.
Yeah.
So that was stupid in the first place. That was a
That's
dumb.
a lot of
I
victim
agree.
blaming.
They all got
think.
fired.
I
but
mean,
she
don't- I
got
it's
a
don't
just
think
payout.
I don't-
like really.
But she's not. But just because you have sex with someone doesn't mean you're a victim.
No, but I mean, I don't know enough about it. I don't know what happened to right brain, left brain analysis of reading and why we're talking about things with people having sex that we don't know the full story
Right.
and payouts and all of this shit. And,
Yeah, that's-
one thing that I
there's-
can just it's
Good
awful
point,
for everyone
Sasha.
involved.
Yeah, it's too abstract.
Yeah,
Like we
well,
don't know what the
if-
circumstances
Right, and
are.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm making assumptions based on the fact that I am a strong woman, and I'm not going to have sex with somebody that I don't want to have sex with. You
Well, that's
know,
But
my
I don't
point.
think it's-
She
I
must have
think it's
wanted to
way
have
more
sex with all
complicated
7 of
than
them
that.
Because
yeah, well,
But I have a tabloid saying that the person who harassed me is my paramour. So I just when you bring this up, I just I hate it not to seem like snowflake, but I'm triggered, and I think there's probably so much more to this that we don't know.
well, it's, there could be, but we all tend to make assumptions based on our own experience, and I have had triggering. I have experiences that I've been triggered. I attacked an old man for something he said at a book fair, and that was embarrassing for me because I didn't know where it was coming from. But so I know where you're coming from now. This man said something about somebody said something about somebody being sexually harassed, and this old man who came out of nowhere said, "Well, did you know that in 89% of the cases, women enjoy being sexually harassed?"
Fuck.
And I know exactly, and then I went ballistic on him at the historical society. I went ballistic. But so I know where you're coming from, and I'm sorry if this has triggered you. So
Yeah, and I mean, it's far more complicated than that. Like you're saying that then this person was on this floor and that floor, and like who the fuck knows? And then what happens outside? I mean, it's just so complicated. And then what was the correspondence? But what actually happened in person? But what happened outside of work? I mean, it just.
Well, the short story for that is the power differential.
Yeah.
And if you're on the same floor, you can't make that argument as much. Like that's why if you're the
but
teacher
it's
and you're
not.
the student, there's an extreme power differential.
yeah, well, that's right. And the fact of the matter is that sometimes people just are attracted to each other, and things happen. But nobody should be getting a payout in these situations.
Well, the something that I think about on the flip side is anywhere where there's a French Foreign Legion detachment, they have an official brothel because they would rather that their soldiers screw the women that
Well,
they knew
but that's-
instead of the locals, and because you can't have
That's true. And with the Persians came their
courtesans.
not really courtesans. They came a troop of women who were their sexual partners.
And that's what the French Foreign Legion does, because you can't have a guy with syphilis or gonorrhea effectively fighting. Because I don't know if you've ever met a Legionnaire, but they're not soft. They're not fat. I mean, they are special forces. They're all special forces.
I can truthfully say I don't think I've ever met a Legionnaire.
I was about this far away from becoming a Legionnaire.
Why?
Because I got screwed out of a Navy commission. I spoke French, and if there'd been the internet back in '92, I would have put on the kepi.
Okay. I never had any desire to join any branch of the military service.
Well, as a veteran,
Yes, I know. You are a brave woman. I wouldn't do. I'm not that brave.
I would like to say that the American military, we in Vietnam legalized and provided health care to the women of the night, so to speak, in Vietnam. So we're not any different than the American
That's
Legion.
true.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what I said. It's been going on since this is not the beginning of time, but that's the beginning of history.
In World War II, Japanese comfort women, I don't know if you've ever heard
Yes,
of that.
I've heard that,
awful
yeah.
term, right? You know,
Yeah.
women were literally kidnapped, Koreans and Chinese young girls for Japanese soldiers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I know.
It's pretty common.
But then there's the flip side of I watched Band of Brothers this week, and about the French women who collaborated, and the Dutch women shaving their heads and putting a swastika on their forehead for relationships with the German soldiers. They were publicly humiliated for having relationships with the German soldiers.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there
or
was
had
some-
their head shaved, I
Yeah.
think, as well. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
were
they
they
shaved their head.
relationships or were they raped?
No, they were
Good
continuing
point,
relationships.
Sasha.
Yeah.
That
Well,
and also there was like 600 babies born.
yeah.
No, in some cases, there were actual romances between German
Well,
soldiers and
because
French girls.
because
people
the
are
French,
people.
And
not
after
only,
the war, the women were seen as traitors, which
right,
is unfair.
but not
unfair,
only that. These people were starving,
right?
and the Germans had food.
And they had food. Yeah.
You know,
Good point, Paula.
Yeah.
they had food, they had cigarettes, they had had things that they couldn't
Don't
get.
forget stockings.
Yeah, well, that's something the American GIs brought, and anyway, whatever. But they could be fed, and I've had sex for less. I mean, really, if you think about, not that I specifically mentally said, oh, this is in exchange for this, but I've had relationships with men that were not great.
Morality is often circumstance dependent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Good point for Sanford. Good
Yeah.
point.
So, all right. So now I think we should be off the sex topic of the
Just to
the
finish
last
that,
show.
It-
Yeah, and I
Just
mean, we
to
don't
finish
know
that,
anything
Paula.
about They've probably already been through enough.
Was,
Yeah, so
was Pat
you-
Benatar stop
yeah.
using sex as a weapon?
Well,
I just wanted to say, just to finish that.
okay, just to finish
Because
it.
you asked, her name was Megan Hall, and she was given $500,000 at the time of her firing.
Yeah.
What police department?
Laverne, Tennessee.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, I'm sure these things happen. Who knows who, you know?
Yours, mine, and the truth.
But all right. So we've got less than 5 minutes left. I'd like to uplift the conversation.
And
a little
also
bit.
it's-
we've never asked Richard anything about his list today. So Richard, you got to have something on your list we can cover in 5 minutes.
I do. In New York City right now,
Yeah.
a prominent art gallery has decided to do a exhibit with all of the Diane Arbus photos in existence.
Love her. Yes.
So people from all over the world are coming to see this. Now, when you walk in the door, you know how they have the announcement of the name of the exhibit? Then they have like a little synopsis. This is what they put on the synopsis. As a teenager, Diane Arbus wrote in high school an essay about Plato, and she included this line. There are and have been and will be an infinite number of things on earth, individual, because Plato said, I want to try to resolve why there's so much difference in the world when really they all participate in these ideal forms.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there are an infinite number of things on earth. Individuals are all different. They all want different things. They all know different things. They all love different things. And they all look different. Everything that has been on earth has been different from every other thing. I love the differenceness of all things. I see the divine in the ordinary. Now, for those of us in the audience who have never seen Diane Arbus photographs, can you show Vin 9, Tom? So there's an example of a Diane Arbus photograph.
Mm-hmm.
It's a kid having a temper tantrum in Central Park. A lot of people have
The Shining.
I
Yeah.
was just going to say The Shining as well. Yeah.
in the
Wow.
left side of the
I love
brain.
that,
yeah.
People have looked at this photo and
Do you
said,
remember?
and they have said, what this photo is about is we are twins. Our purpose in life is to be perceived. We are doing what you are telling us to do.
Ah.
You see? And then in this one, a nudist couple at home. And somebody commented on this photo. He said, in the first job I had, acting as a photographer in a photojournalist pool of photographers, they had this in the break room, right? And he said, I hated that photo. And I finally said, this was in the 50s.
Yeah.
I said to someone, what is so special about that photo? Why did you put that? I find it repulsive. And they said, well, there's this new photographer that we admire in town, Diane Arbus. And so what he did is, as the months and months went on, he felt less and less offended by the photo until the point where he went and met Diane Arbus and said, can I buy a print?
Huh.
And he bought the print and he put it up in his apartment. And he said, to this day, with each passing decade, I see the people in that photo as my family.
Wow. Richard, I see you've got tears in your eyes, Richard.
So it's seeing the universal in the particular.
Well,
Yes, that
and
was
it's-
Plato's. That was Plato's big hang-up.
Yeah.
That's
that-
why I love Ozu, the great Japanese film director, so much, because he does exactly the same thing. He made the same film over and over and over again, and you see you see your own family, you see yourself, you see your friends in those films. They're
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I love her photographs because they are real people. I don't think she's exploiting them at all. I think she's honoring them. I don't see it as exploitation. Because
Yeah.
some people say that.
Yeah.
But it's the same way. When I go someplace and I look at a person's face and they may not be particularly pretty in definition, like society definition, but there's something about their face that I'm drawn to. And I want to take a picture of their face. It's not because I want to say bad things about it. It's because I see something different than maybe what other people see.
Well, I see that on Jeopardy all the time. They have the Prevagen commercials, and the one guy, Greg, says, I'm not an actor. I'm a real person, implying that actors are not real people.
Paula,
And
you've
like
got
this-
23 seconds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
the
see that.
stage
Your final
pictures.
show.
The stage pictures are so phony.
Give her.
I wanna say thank you to everybody because this has been fabulous. I've loved it, and everybody that's participated, and everybody who is, and now it's going to go off and be a new thing, a life of its own. So thank you so much.
Thank you,
and
Paula.
I will.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you.